Okay, so I'm going to do a mini series on dynamic processing, and when I talk about dynamics, I'm talking about the loudest part of a signal in comparison to the quietest part of the signal. So if my loudest part of a signal, say a bass track, is 100 dB, the quietest part is 40 dB, I have a 60 dB dynamic range. The difference between the loudest and the quietest. And the idea of dynamic processing, our main dynamic processors are compressors, limiters, noise gates, and expanders. And if you look at the idea of a compressor, which I'll get into how to use a compressor in Logic Pro and Pro Tools in the next video, you're really just looking at the idea of taking the loudest part of the signal, turning it down to get it closer to the quietest part, and then you turn the whole signal up. So if I look at something like a signal in Logic Pro, this is a drum track, you're going to see that there are some louder parts and some quieter parts. And one of the situations in music mixing or recording we might have is that the quieter parts are too quiet and you want people to hear them. So with dynamic processing, compressor in particular, we're going to attenuate or turn down these louder parts. So say we turn them down to about here, which will in turn allow us to turn the whole track up, or the volume of the whole track up, and you'll actually bring up the quieter parts so that people can hear them more. So think of a vocalist that's very quiet in a verse and then very loud in a chorus. If you put in a compressor on that voice, you actually turn down the louder parts so that you're able to turn the whole track up in order to hear the quiet parts. So follow along. I'm going to put up another video so this doesn't get too long, of applying compression to a track, this drum track in particular, and it will demonstrate the idea of turning the whole track down, the loudest parts, and then turning it up with makeup gain so that it'll make it pop more in the mix without having to have the level of that track way louder.